Okay, folks, thank you for coming back to our event today. We have a really exciting speaker. His name is Xavier Hawk, and he works with a company called Firon Global Partners. There's the logo right there, and he is the CEO and founder. They have some amazing strategies and technologies that can help the local health and wellness community here in our Tri-City area to connect together, to get financial assets together, to communicate with each other, and to basically be more effective and more powerful with these strategies. And it's a little bit over my head technologically, so I'm going to let him explain it to you. And I think you're going to be very excited. The one part of it that I'm very excited about is I followed a long time ago the Ithaca Hour in New York, where Cornell University is, Ithaca, New York. And I know something about that. So we're going to start with that because part of what you do, Xavier, is currency, or currency and coins, right?
Correct.
So let's start with that, and then we'll move on, and you can discuss all the ways that we can help the health and wealth community here in Tri-Cities. Okay.
Thank you so much, Clyde. I really appreciate you having me and having the opportunity to speak to everybody here in the South Florida area. So yeah, the company is called Firon Global Partners, and the app is called Firon. And what it is essentially a decentralized cooperative banking system, right? We give you an app. You become part owner of the app. You get a credit card or a bank card, debit card, and then whenever you spend your currencies with that debit card, we process the transaction fees. We put that in a pool, and then everybody who is a member or owner, because it's the same thing, gets to vote on how those profits are spent. So we can build sectors of the market, we can build schools, we can buy commodities, a lot of really creative things. But the ways that we can help specifically the health and wellness community is like what you were saying with the Ithaca hours and the Ithaca dollars. Is I got into complementary currencies because I was trying to figure out a way to disintermediate the state. Let's say when I had people living on my neighborhood, my community farm in Western North Carolina, pay them their wages and then they pay rent back. It's like that's like a private community. It's like a membership. So we don't need to be going through and doing taxation and all of these other bits on that. But there was no real good vehicle for that. So I looked at Bitcoin, and this was circa 2010. Took me a little bit of time to get involved with the whole Bitcoin space. But then I realized that if we had a digital trade instrument that we could exchange privately, then that's a way, currency is essentially only that which people value as a medium of exchange. Mm-hmm. Most currencies have no actual inherent or intrinsic value. Some people say gold, actually has value because you can use it for things, but traditionally it's used mostly as just like ornamentation, right? Mm-hmm. Now, if you use gold, it becomes heavy and clunky, and you carry sacks, like the Middle Ages, or you can use now currently digital currencies, right? And currency really is just a physical or representational example of life force energy, our passion, our calories, our hours, and we turn that into little packets, usually called US dollars here in the United States, and then we trade those. Well,
our medium of exchange.
Exactly. We can try, seashells, whatever, right? As long as everybody kind of buys into it. And that's kind of what makes currency now. Everybody values Bitcoin, so it's valuable. Mm-hmm. So we created our own currency essentially to trade in. But in the process of this, the chief architect of the euro joined our team because he saw that there's a lot of architecture to currency that actually allows it to be successful. Things like demurrage fees and velocity and all of these technical terms, which really are just ways of explaining the idea and methodologies of getting people to use the currency, value it, and transact with it, right? Mm-hmm. And it should have certain traits, and I think that's a little bit, that's aside of this discussion. The main focus is that if we create a community like the health and wellness community, especially here in South Florida, it's very vibrant. I realized that we can take currencies and support or activate or like enliven mm-hmm. specific sectors. Right. We were starting with permaculture, but the same thing could be done with health and wellness in the South Florida area, let's say. So okay. We create a specific health and wellness coin, Anybody can come up with a name, like anybody can pitch us on the idea. And then what we'll do is mint them or issue them so that it would be a specific kind of coin with a specific name that's unforgeable, and we put it on our app, right?
Mhm.
And then it's kind of like the Ithaca dollar, Ithaca hour. It's like it has a value to the network, right? And as the central bank or the central issuer, it's our job, along with the community's job, to get other people to use that or accept that coin.
Right.
So-
Promote it, in other words. Yeah,
Right,
promote
right.
its usefulness.
Yep. And in the Firon network, any coins we create will, like for clients like the health and wellness community in South Florida, you know, we become an exchange for them. So like, let's say you're part of the Firon network, you're a member owner of the cooperative, and you have, let's say, 10,000 Delray health and wellness dollars or whatever they're called. Then you can go use them at the acupuncturist or at the
Massage therapist.
massage therapist, and they'll, right. And if they're in the network, the way it'll work is if they're out of the network, then we'll pay them in fiat. Firon will pay them in fiat, kind of like the same way Visa or MasterCard works, where it's like you go and use it, and then at the end of the night, MasterCard, Visa clears with their bank and gives them their fiat, right? Sometimes it takes 2 to 3 days. In our instance, it's instantaneous that night or that day.
Okay.
So you're part of the member-owned co-op, the bank, Firon, and then you go and use your Firon card at the local massage therapist. If they're not in the network, they'll get paid in fiat that night. But when we design the currency and architect it, we'll do it in such a way where it's like they won't want the fiat, they'll actually want the health and wellness dollars, because it provides more real-world value than just the fiat dollars would. Meaning they could use less of them to get more out of the next person in the network. So it's kind of like an HMO or PPO in health, health insurance, right? Which is another way we can actually help. But like, let's say you have an HMO or HHO or PPO or all of those different health insurance plans. It benefits you to go. Sometimes you can only go to those in the network, right? But if they're in the network, they actually have greater reason to and benefit to be in the network, because their transaction fees would be less. Meaning if they're outside of the network and we're processing the transaction fee at 3.75% of the transaction, they're getting 3.75% less. But if they're in network, they're actually making a percent instead of losing 3.75%. So they're actually making more money if they're in the network. So it incentivizes them to be part of the network, because then they're also not just making more money per transaction, but also getting to vote on how that currency operates, moves, and what benefits the community gets specifically from that complementary currency.
So there's more value in the currency by not exchanging for fiat normal dollars. And there's also other benefits as well, in addition.
Correct.
Yeah.
So the vendors making more money, and they're getting to take part in and help govern that health and wellness community as a sovereign entity, right? It's like Bernard, the guy.
One of the things I like about this is because we're going through, I believe, a pretty positive transition in this country in terms of people's awareness about alkaline versus acidic diet, for example.
Right.
The need for exercise, the need to have your body in motion, even when you're in your 80s and 90s and 100s, that you can live a lot longer than we thought we could if we did all these things, if we eat right, if we exercise properly.
Right.
We have good, some kind of meditation to do, to rest, get the proper rest, and all these different, release stress. All these things are sort of rising. Really, it's like I've been into this for a long time, but what I'm seeing now is it's becoming, people everywhere talking about these things.
Yeah, I mean, mainstream people want to.
So this, what you're talking about, is really, I think, a good timing to present something like this. I mean, the Ithaca Hour worked a long time ago in Ithaca, and it was similar. But now with the technology that you guys have and that we have, to have a currency like this do the same thing, I just think it's a real winner.
Not only that, but if you're member owners, if you're part owner of a corporation, in this case a bank, a cooperative bank, then it is in the corporation's best interest that you are as healthy and strong as you can be, right? It's kind of like let's say Apple or Google, they actually encourage people to work out and they give them bonuses if they're healthy and all of this health bonuses. We do the same, essentially. Like the sensors that we'll have in our phones are such that you can put the phone up and actually measure how deep into a meditation you get, right?
Right.
So we can actually pay you micropayments for being healthy, for meditating,
And
for
getting into a deeper meditation.
yeah, literally.
Yeah.
And so like with the technology in the wrong hands becomes like a very dystopian thing, but in the right hands, when the people own it, when everybody cooperates together,
It sounds to me like what you're doing, you're cutting out the corporations, you're cutting out the banks, the bankers, and you're cutting out the government. That's all good in my mind.
yeah,
And,
it's an architecture for us to agree upon ways to behave and a future that we want to build together.
right, right.
And nobody's in charge. We are all in charge.
Well, the essence of Mises's human action is that when people come together and there's no third party, and they're interacting and exchanging with each other, they wouldn't exchange with each other on a voluntary basis unless it was
Valuable.
a value to each one of them. And that little bit of gain that each one of them is getting, that happens to be the prosperity. That's how prosperity is created between human beings. In other words, in an economy, prosperity comes from people exchanging freely without interference from a government, which is taxing them.
Harvesting, right? Because that's what the government's doing. It's just harvesting, and then it creates inefficiencies. Nature works on complete efficiency and abundance. All the systems work in cooperation because that makes the whole system work, right? And we're naturally built that way. But when you stick a layer on top that's like the farmer, essentially, Masanobu Fukuoka was one of the guys who like discovered permaculture, right? And he found that he had like a pineapple farm in Japan, and it just was not growing, or orange. It was oranges, I believe. And he's like, he had to put in so much work, and he was only getting like a few dollars profit out of that. He's like, what would happen if I just let this grow and see what's supposed to grow here? And when he did that, he found that, rice is supposed to grow here, and he did less work with more yield because he followed natural law. Right. And what we're doing here with FireOn is we're taking the phi golden ratio that moves through all things that have like life force, like the nautilus shell, the broccoli leaves, the way that plants grow. We're taking that and putting it into a governance and architectural economy, essentially, and saying, this is how naturally we will operate with abundance and prosperity on the permacultural laws of life and create more abundance and efficiency. Very, very well put. And, very, very obviously oriented towards prosperity for all. And on that note, why don't we get into the thing you mentioned to me earlier about health insurance? Yeah, so if you are part of a corporation, right, you have group health insurance, you can get a lot better benefits. And there's creative ways that we can create our own health insurance plans, right? Because there are a lot of people who are really into natural and holistic preventative methods of health and wellness. That's the whole reason for this summit here. Mm-hmm. So what happens if you all agree here, the terms and conditions, like you can use your health and wellness dollars at these, health and wellness practitioners in the area, and these ones throughout the world. And you're paying less because you don't need it as much because you're naturally a healthy person, and we can actually gauge that if you need that. But then we can actually subsidize the proper plan for you that would be catered A, to your demographic, and B, to you as an individual. And like for me, for instance, I never go to the doctor. I never go to the hospital. If I do, it's because I've broken something or it's like severely life-threatening, right? You need an X-ray. Something, yeah. But otherwise, I don't go to doctors for my yearly checkups. I go to an herbalist, I go to a naturopath, I go to, or a physical therapist. Exactly, or acupuncture. And so let's say that's that's what I like, so we can build a health insurance plan as a corporation, provide it to our members, and where they can have those specific treatments that they like. And because everybody agrees, and there's a monthly premium, and it's probably less than other ones because there's not the catastrophic the daily, doctor visits or weekly doctor visits, then we're able to do a lot of cool things. And included in that is like health tourism, right? Where you can go to Thailand spend a week and a half, 2 weeks, get the dental work that you need, and it'll still cost you less. Stay in really nice hotels, mind you, and it'll still cost you less, including the airfare, and it'll still cost you less than going to a dentist locally or in the traditional medical system.
We know exactly what you're talking about because we go to Costa Rica for dental sometimes, and then, and things like that, because it's, to get braces in Costa Rica is a small fraction of getting braces here. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's a great idea. Plus you get to go to Costa Rica.
Right.
So,
Yeah, exactly. And it becomes like a fun thing, not just like, and in some cases, like in Thailand, they have like some of the top of the line stuff that you wouldn't even find in the United States yet, which is, counterintuitive, but it's the truth. So, again, because it's that cooperative structure where everybody's part owner, like we can provide our own group health insurance plan that's not run through the traditional systems, and, that are designed, again, that same harvesting ability, where it's like, if we build a cooperative, then it's in everybody's best interest that it works more efficiently and that nobody is getting unduly harvested economically.
Right. Right. And also in that kind of a system, we're not paying for somebody that's been smoking and drinking their whole life and has destroyed their health and needs 100 times more health costs than we do for taking care of ourselves.
Exactly. It's catered specifically to you,
Yeah. So I love that idea of this, creating a community of healthy people and being able to have insurance and banking, within our group. That's very exciting. So you guys can do that. You know how to do that, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you've been in this space now for how many years?
Yeah. So again, 2010. So I've been working on this for 10 years, and I got a big jolt of notoriety in 2014 and 15, lecturing at Oxford and the World Economic Forum on economic systems that benefit the whole system instead of just a few sitting at the top. So it's a matter of like building it in such a way where the value is easily demonstrable to all parties, and all parties, so that they can see like, oh, if we do business with clarity and transparency and in cooperation, where it is to our benefit that everybody stays intelligent, that stays healthy, that stays vibrant. That's what we want, So this is the system that makes that happen.
I love it. I love it.
And it reaches into, all sectors. Like we can do the same thing for the health and wellness industry and go and take that and replicate it for agriculture. We can do that and replicate it for, schools, healthcare, all like it really just is about taking each sector and finding out how it works and how it most efficiently expresses itself, and then provide the underlying economic architecture and governance architecture to enable that.
It's really exciting. Let's get into something even more exciting that you mentioned to me, and you can explain it. And I'd like to hear this explanation again anyway, about the tricorder technology.
Yes.
Pretty far out, but let's hear it.
So a partner of mine has a sensor technology that they can put in any camera, any phone, and you ever seen like spy movies from the late 2000s where they put a scope on a rifle or something and they can see into the building and where everybody's, like what floors they are in? They can look
like
down.
infrared where they can see through. Yeah. Okay.
It's based on atomic and electromagnetic frequency. So you can put any lens on it. It works even better if you can put like an infrared lens and all of this. But essentially, you can scan at the atomic level. So if you have any, let's say, flu virus, right, on and around your nose, or any antibodies for the flu virus and on and around your nose, and you scan yourself, you can actually read for those. So you can scan at the atomic level an individual for the veracity of gold. Let's say you can scan gold and see whether it's really gold or not, or if it's lead covered in gold. You can scan airports and people walk by and see if there's bomb material. But you can also scan individuals for degenerative bone disease or cancer or precancerous growths or viruses of any kind, as long as it's detectable at the atomic level. So what is essentially is a hardware piece of technology that goes in our FireOn phones, and we can do remote medicine. So if you have a FireOn phone and you're part of the medical network, you can scan yourself, scan your arm or scan your forehead or take a picture of yourself. We run it through the software and analysis, and the doctor on the other end or the practitioner on the other end can see exactly what you have.
Would that
You
be
got-
as effective as like blood work, getting your blood and then sending it in for your blood to be looked at by a specialist?
would.
So
Yeah, technically it would. It would.
you are going to the atomic level, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, so you could technically do that with your blood. Like if you, I don't know that people do this at home or whatever, but if you prick yourself and put some blood on a piece of paper, you can actually then scan it. And if you have a strong enough magnification, yes, you'll be able to see that. So it's essentially like like I said before, the Star Trek tricorder. Where if anybody's not familiar with Star Trek, they have this little thing that goes beep, 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 and then it tells you what's wrong with a person. It's essentially that technology.
Wow.
And we're putting that into our FireOn phones, and those should be coming out. I don't want to give any dates, but like this year, pretty much.
Okay. So that would be just one more benefit of the local health and wealth community here getting involved with FireOn. Just one other thing in terms of diagnosis, they'd be easily and probably almost free diagnosis, the ability to diagnose themselves. And how much money do we spend trying to get diagnosed for what's wrong with us?
That's right. If we can do that with a $50 to $100 phone, and we can subsidize those and give those to the health and wellness community. Like, in fact, what we could do is and I'm just thinking out loud here right now, is like if we had a health and wellness coin for the South Florida area, or just a health and wellness coin in general, we could start it in South Florida and have it be, it could fund, the use of it could fund specifically producing more of these phones and getting it to the hands of more practitioners, right? So it's like a way to, like the profits of the currency's usage could go towards producing more of these phones for the medical community in South Florida. And then as it grows, it could go to other communities. And like the idea is that each complementary currency for each subsector or sector of the marketplace goes towards benefiting and multiplying its effects, that sector's effects.
So do you foresee this actually maybe starting here in the Tri-City area and then expanding out? The same coin could just be used in other places, or that each location would have their own, to keep it within the community? What do you think is going to happen?
Our current structure is that each neighborhood or each so what we're doing is we're essentially taking values that humans share, like health and wellness, or plant-based diets, or we want
like a community of those people that are into those things.
Yeah, and
Starting there.
giving them their own sovereignty or their own representation in the form of a specific frequency or currency that they use, right? And the strength of that idea, that meme or that concept or that value system, is demonstrable in the currency of that
Right.
community.
Right.
So if everybody buys into it and says, that's the way we want to live, we want to eat products that only come from organic farms, right? Then you'll see that more people will want to use that currency, and that idea is demonstrably and more quantifiable, and here's how we can prove it, right? The use of its currency. So if we decide that it might actually be better to have Del Rey have its own coin and Boynton have its own coin and Fort Lauderdale, cool. If it makes more sense that everybody who believes in health and wellness wants that their own coin, whether it gives us group identity no matter where our borders are, value group identity, right? And it might make sense to say, well, this whole health and wellness craze is based here in South Florida, one of the first places that everybody started really getting into that methodology. Maybe have its own coin, and then like health and wellness Northeast, or it really depends on the strength of the group. And their strength in the overall
and the group desire, where the group desire, maybe they just want to keep it tight knit.
Exactly. And that's one of the things that we can do with these, is like create its own private section on the app where like in Facebook, they have group Facebook groups. You could have, it's essentially that, but with its own economy. And then the strength of each of the groups are based on the vitality of the economy. If you get too big, it becomes unwieldy. Somebody has to manage it. Somebody has to oversee it and make decisions. And, that's where you get regional directors and or regional, like in branch managers, in the banks. So if it becomes too big, too fast, unwieldy, it's not serving the people that are part of it. So it's in their interest to maintain it in a size that feels comfortable, that they can operate it with. They still know each other, that kind of thing.
Well, I'm so glad that we did this. I mean, we've got almost all the speakers for this summit, and we're going to be going live with this within maybe 6-7 weeks. And now that we have this presentation as one of our interviews, I think that what we could do is after the event is over, have people get in touch with you. I want you to give to everyone your website and your information about how to get a hold of you. And then anyone that's interested in this, let us know, let you know, and then we can get the whole community together. And we start this out with, we probably have, who knows, anywhere from 1,000 to 10,000 people that are going to be interested in getting going on this right away.
That's fantastic. I mean, just having a healthcare product like a holistic insurance policy would be huge, right?
Yeah.
And we could structure that very easily. Where we are right now, as of this recording, March 20th, I believe, 2021, we are just about to hit our full capitalization, meaning we're going to have all of the funds that we need to execute on all of it. It's going to take about 3 to 6 months to have the functional marketplace and app going so that people can start using these coins and trading and using their own card and everything. And then, within the year, we're going to have our own phone that can do this scanning. And it might be really, really exciting and interesting to hit the market as a health and wellness community. Mm-hmm. At its core, a health and wellness bank, essentially.
Right. So I think you and I probably should start to create a list of anybody who's excited about this and interested. Start to create a contact list with their email address and their phone number, so that when we're ready to launch this in a few months, we'll have several thousand people ready to go.
And it's a great way to make a living too for some folks, because the network. You know what a point of sale system is, right? You go to a place and you scan a code. There are people who make their whole business around point of sale systems. Well, if you go, we don't even need all of that. We can use whatever point of sale system they're already using. If you grow the network, the Firon network, let's say, and you're a member owner and you go and get Starbucks on board, let's say. Any other members who use their card at Starbucks, you end up getting a percentage of all of the transactions that they do. That 3.75% goes, and you get a percentage out of that 3.75%. So you could, if you opened up a client like Starbucks, you could be making, gosh, I don't know how much you'd be making, but you could make a good, decent living off of every, like 0.5% on everybody's transactions that comes through. So the system, it grows itself by people being incentivized to help grow the system and bring new vendors on board. So it starts as a health and wellness thing, and then grows and eventually becomes, like, hopefully one of the largest corporations in the world, owned and operated by all of the people, instead of, a Mark Zuckerberg sitting on top,
right.
harvesting all of your data.
Right.
Boy, there's a number of ways you can get in touch with me.
Go ahead.
The quickest and easiest way is on our Telegram group. It's t.me/Firon. That's PHIREON.
It was
t.me/Firon. That's Telegram's little handle.
Okay. t.me/
Firon. PHIREON.
Okay, everyone.
And then you can come check us out at Firon Global Partners, same spelling, globalpartners.com, and then Firon.com. And if you are in touch with Clyde, just hit him up, and he has my contact information. And if you're somebody who wants to help roll this out at a administrative level or at a branch manager level, get in touch, and we'll come up with a good strategy.
Absolutely fantastic. I'm so glad we got you in on this very first Tri-City Health and Wellness Summit.
Me too. Yeah, it was pretty synchronistic how we linked up. So
It really was. It really was. So I love synchronicity. So yeah, this is going to be fun. So I'm just going to say this one more time for people. Phiron is PHIREON.com. And if you want to find them on Telegram, which I'm really starting to figure out now. I really like Telegram. If you're not on it, you should get on it. T.me/Phiron, PHIREON.
And we do have the app in the Google Play Store and the App Store, but I'm not recommending anybody join it just yet because we're still working out the bugs. It's in like the very early alpha beta stage.
What do you think? 3 to 6 months now? 3 to 6 months?
Yeah, I think even before that, like we're gonna have updates here in the next week, and then 3 to 6 months we'll have like a fully functional blockchain. I'm hoping in 3 to 6 months, a fully functional blockchain marketplace, ID system, and banking system.
Okay. Well, you know what? This thing will go live in about 3 months. So 3 months from now, when people are watching this,
we'll be in a much better position to bring you on board.
Yeah, so you definitely use this website and contact Xavier, and we'll get this thing going, and we create health and wellness for everybody, and prosperity as well.
That's right.
Prosperity here. This is fantastic. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me, Clyde.
Awesome. Have the great rest of your Saturday.
You as well. You as well.